Welcome back to Living with a Classic and part 7 of getting this XJC ready for a long road trip. As of now, it's less than a week and we have to go, so it is Wednesday. You guys have just seen the previous parts just uploaded about an hour ago, and I'm out here continuing to work on the car. You guys are really liking the previous episode so far, so I hope that continues. And yeah, Wednesday morning, a week from now, we're leaving. So this is what I'm going to call this the final stretch. Everything we have to do to be able to test drive the car. So at the end of this episode, I want to have a car on the road ready to test drive, basically ready to go for an MOT or an inspection or whatever you want to call it. So the list is long. Let's go through it, but it's not as bad, hopefully, as I think. There's a couple small issues to fix, but mostly it's just some service items. This is pretty much one of the last fixes I need to do, which is just not a service item. Speedo wasn't working. I verified it by just putting in gear and it's not working. So I hope that it was just a speedo cable not connected because someone's replaced the speedo. It originally has a miles per hour one and maybe they just forgot. And wouldn't you know, the cable's right there. They forgot. I turned the car on earlier while the other film was uploading. Put in gear and yes, that does turn. So we're going to put that together, but before, I just want to fix the plastic housing here where those warning lights are, because it's not held in place by anything. All the tabs are broken off, and that's not a good idea because the metal surround here is the earth, and there's a bunch of contacts in there, so that plops around. You could have a short circuit, which is really, really bad. But we're not going to start with this. We're going to start with, or just continue with, some engine things. Previous episode, we fixed the carb issue, and now it's running pretty well. But do a small tune of it, just maybe a minor thing on the carbs. Once we road test it, and then I'll get an exhaust gas analyzer. But we need to do a tune-up. Plugs, plug wires, cap and rotor. I'm going to do that, put all new stuff on there, so that should also make it run just a lot better, because it's misfiring a bit on one of the cylinders, cylinder 6, and that seems to be a bad cable or a bad plug. So we'll fix all that up. Then we got the transmission to service, oil in the engine and the filter there, of course. Rear end, we're going to change the diff fluid, a new brake hose there, bleed the brakes, and then we're pretty much ready for a road test. But let's have a look at the starter relay, because hot wiring from under here is not a solution for the road trip. We've got to get that relay working or find a replacement one. But I'm just going to start doing the tune-up of the plugs. You don't need to see that. Put that all into place. Then I'll pull off this relay. We'll have a look on the bench and see if we can fix it. Got all new plugs, HC leads, cap and rotor in place. Looking very good, I think. And I took the starter relay out. The spare ones I had were really not that great when I opened them up. And this one wasn't too bad. Contacts were just really, really dirty. So it's just an electromagnet, pulls together, closes the contact. You got the positive on here, and then it goes to the starter over there. And that's it. So I'll put all of this back together. We'll put it on. Let's see if it actually fires up from the key. It's the next day, starter relay is in place, and then a good friend of mine actually dropped by with a spare one, so I do have a spare one that is brand new we can bring along. And I've hooked up the speedo cable, got the car in neutral so we can pop and drive, because the wheels are off the ground, and we'll see how it goes. But let's have it fire up. Okay. That is the warning light that the parking brake is on. So we'll put it in gear, let go of the parking brake, and we have a speedo. Perfect. So that's really, really good. I am going to let the car warm up for a bit, and I'm going to check the timing. I've been changing the oil, got it drained, got a new filter put in place. The old one there is a canister style. And there was some late night brainstorming over some beers with my dad, actually, and we were talking about these water chokes, because I don't think they're still completely turning off, because otherwise it wouldn't be this rich. And we talked about it, and trying to figure out which way it turns, and we thought about it. I think I actually turned it the wrong way, making it worse. And I think I have verified that. So I've taken this one off, drained the coolant, of course, and I've turned it that way. You can see the lines. There is where the line is supposed to line up with there, and turn it that way, and that is the mark where I had it when I turned it back. So I've turned it quite far forward, so maybe I hope they will actually turn off now. Hopefully that will work, and even if it proves to be a little bit difficult to start cold, we can live with that because the trip is just a couple days. We just need it to not be on when we're driving. So I've tightened these up. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. It's a little bit tight. Just remove that bolt, put that into place. Fingers crossed it will actually run better this time. Just filling up the oil here. Coolant is filled up again. Once again, I'm using Castrol Classic 20W50. Use that in all old Jag engines, the straight 6 and the older V12s as well. The XJS actually is running on synthetic oil. It has a more modern rear seal, so that works fine. It's running on AMSOIL with a lot of zinc 20W50. But this stuff is good. Lots of zinc and just a really, really good oil. Use it in all my cars and all customer cars. One thing, you know the carts we just had a look at? That one was turned the incorrect way. The other one I had turned the right way. But I did turn that one even more to try and force it to close. I mean, biometals, they get old and you know, don't work as well. So we'll see if that helps, because the front carb was the one that was actually running richer than the rear one. So hopefully this source fixes it. Otherwise, the only other thing I could think of if they prove to be turned off is to lower the float level. It's set correctly at 17 millimeters, but I don't know. We can always lower that a bit to fix it. But I'm gonna add a little bit more. That was the first 5 liters. I'll add a bit more. We'll check levels, fire it up, and hopefully it's running a lot better. Alright, let's see if it's any better. I just primed the fuel system and not too bad. Got brilliant oil pressure, and these are the old markings on the ground, and we're making a couple of new ones, but honestly plugs are pretty foul and everything. I would imagine definitely a lot smoother now than cold than before, and no proof of black smoke. Let's just check for leaks. Oil leaks, that is. Looking good. So let's have this thing warm up, and then we'll see if the chokes actually work. And wouldn't you know it, it's fixed. And it's actually running a little lean now, which makes sense. The carbs are set all the way lean. It is a little bit of lean type of lift the pistons. It sort of just wants to die. So we're going to turn those up just a little bit. But extremely happy about this. It is very, very smooth. No misfires. And yeah, probably just burning off some excess fuel there. That's been the exhaust and all that, but running very, very smoothly. Gotta set the idle down a little bit. The carbs are balanced, I checked, but we'll turn the idle down and fix all of that, and then I gotta set the cold idle as well. But have a listen to that. It runs really well now. Finally, all the issues seem to have been fixed. Since I'm confident in the carbs now and I'm gonna get this thing running right, I'm continuing with some maintenance. I just drained the diff, and now I'm draining the transmission. I'm gonna remove the pan, replace that gasket, and check the filter and also replace that. The nice thing about these Borg Warner units, the 65 and 66, this being a 65, they have a drain on the dipstick, which is very, very handy. Also on the 6-cylinder, there is nothing in the way of removing the pan. You don't need to remove the transmission mount or anything like that. It's very, very straightforward. So let me get this apart, and then I may call it a night, and then tomorrow we'll have a look at the pan inside, see how that looks, and replace the filter. Okay, drop the pan and the filter. Everything looks pretty good. The transmission has been rebuilt at some point during the car's life, so really not too bad. There's a magnet there, and not really too much on there. You will find a little bit in automatic transmissions because they do slip. That's the nature of them. But I replaced the filter, new gasket, put this all back together, fill up with fluid, and then we're getting really, really close for a test drive. I'm just filling up the transmission here again. As you may know, when you drop the pan on any automatic transmission, you don't get all the fluid out. You only get maybe a third of it out. The rest is in torque converter and all that. This is an old transmission, doesn't use Dextron, it uses Type F. I use Castrol TQF, but any Type F will work. I believe F stands for Ford. And I think that maybe they were used in Fords at first, not really sure, but it's the fluid you gotta use. I always measure when I take out, and I was shocked because I thought I'd lose maybe, I don't know, 4 liters, something like that. I only took out less than 2.5. So either it was low or there's a lot in the torque converter. Not really sure. It's been sitting for a long time and it was dripping a little bit around the pan gasket, so it's probably low. I'm going to actually pour in 3 liters and we'll go from there. So it feels like it'll be safe to start up and drive, and then I can check the fluid level when it's all warm and good. And we're going to bring some TQF along, because there's no way you can find this stuff usually easily on the road. Dextron, any gas station. TQF is not that common here in Europe, or just, you know, Type F. But we're filling this up now, and then we're going to move on to another item, which is the power steering. It has a massive power steering leak from the pinion. We're going to fix that. I have a trick to get those off in the car really easily, so it should only take an hour or so. We'll have a look at that, and then we got to fit the new tires as well. As you know, this car has a massive power steering leak. Just a small amount. I've been running it here. We have that giant puddle there. It was completely empty when I got the car, and it looks like it's coming from the pinion seal. And often it doesn't look like it. Often you can see it on the hoses here, but it's the pinion seal in here. I've shown you how to replace those on the V12. Then you have to remove the whole steering rack. You don't have to on a 6-cylinder. It all depends if it's, you know, the long one or the short one, all of that. On the short ones, you can usually just get this steering knuckle off and leave it in place. I needed a couple more millimeters, so I just dropped the 2 bolts here, pushed the rack down a tiny bit, and I got it off. So I'm going to get some snap ring pliers. I'll take that out. And then we're not going to use any tools to get it out. Put a big pan underneath, start up the engine, and I will use the pressure from the pump to push the old seal out. That way also any dirt or debris will be pushed out from the shaft, making installation really easy and making sure that we don't damage anything when we put it back together. Alright, besides that my flashlight fell down, you see the seal popped out. You really only get one shot, so make sure that before you do this that your power steering reservoir is full and that you bled the system. See how that got pushed out very nicely? And grab a small little screwdriver, push that out, clean it, put in a new one. Hopefully no more leaks. Got the new seal in, and I started up afterwards. Seems like the power steering is not leaking anymore. We'll have to find out after a test drive, but fingers crossed that fixes it. And for the first time in 3, close to 4 weeks, the car is back on the ground. We got the new tires on. these lovely chrome wheels, which I'm going to give a light polish later just to make them look really nice for the owner. Got hubcaps to put on later, but I think we're ready for the first test drive. We got lead brakes. We have service transmission, service rear end. I've greased every grease fitting. New tires. Gone through the engine. The carbs seems to be running all right. The choke has not turned on again now when I've just restarted the car a couple times when it's been half cold. So that's really good. But I'm gonna grab a change of clothes, jump in the car, and go for a quick little spin. Alright, I just pulled it around the house, did a quick check, grabbed the fire extinguisher from my XJ12, and let's see, I have these two windows down, and that was second. Still got to check the transmission fluid when it's all warm, but we're showing a quarter tank of gas, 50 psi of oil pressure, and yeah, temperature's starting to come up. Got something in the back is making a little bit of noise. Seems like there we go. It was the indentations in the gear shifter is pretty much gone. So it was in second, but I just nudged it up a little bit and we went straight into third. We are charging. Let's just nudge on the brakes here. Speedo's not working at the moment. I unhooked it to try this. I found this in the glove box. Because I just hooked the speedo cable straight to before. This did not work then, so I'm gonna hook the speedo cable back up, but I gotta take the dash top off to put something else in place, so we're gonna do that later. But yeah, that little thing there in the back is annoying. Let me pull over and I'll move that. It's a first aid kit. We'll put that in the boot and we'll continue our little test drive. I just put it on the floor in the back seat, so that should be fine. Okay. Well, it's weird to just have one mirror, but this one does. It seems it's been like that away from the factory. But yeah, it's shifting. There we go. I think we're probably a little bit low on fluid, but we'll check that when we get back. Power steering is working though, and the brakes felt pretty good. Yeah, it's always a little bit weird driving this the first time, but I've spoken a little bit more to the owner, and this thing has actually gone on a significant road trip in his ownership. Right before it went off the road, he drove from pretty much the first day that we're gonna drive this thing. That was what he drove, so maybe 5-6 hour drive. So it did that, no issues at all, except on the way back he had a massive puncture, but otherwise. The other thing is the temperature gauge reads a little bit low. So it is 2 needle widths to the left of the end of normal, and that is thermostat temperature being open. So something is up with that. But as long as you know where normal is on the gauge, then if this thing goes up to the middle of normal, this thing is probably running hot. So that is great to know. We'll try. Things on the parcel shelf, but yeah, doesn't pull anywhere and pulls away nicely. Shifts a little harsh, but we haven't checked the fluid level. Engine is really nice and quiet. The only thing I can hear is the giant viscous fan, and no weird smells, anything like that. Had a bit of a burning ATF smell before, but that's the mess I made removing the pinion seal, but that did do the trick, and it doesn't seem like we have any leaks anymore. I also fixed the instrument lighting yesterday. The dimmer or the retrostat was broken and short circuit everything, so I just put the 3 wires, connect them together so we have the brightest lights. That's all you need. So they work now, and I can see we have a little bit of moisture behind them, a little bit of fog going on there. But yeah, really good. Almost back home again, and I actually just, you know, I didn't really give it all the beans, but I made sure it kicked down once. And also because I was curious, because I've never driven a US spec one of these that is pretty sorted like this one is now, and I just heard that they're sort of slow and don't run well. But this one, I mean, just the way it's been idling in the shop with all of the emission stuff removed, it's really smooth. It idles very well. It really wants to rev. It's very peppy. So I was pretty impressed when it kicked down. So we're gonna turn left here in a little bit, and I'll show you guys that, because I was actually fairly impressed. Other than that, oil pressure still the same, still charging, temperature staying same place, which looks weird, but seems to be correct in this car. Could be a voltage regulator thing, could be anything else behind the dash, but we are running out of time. At least we know that I have a working temperature gauge, and I've checked it with, you know, a laser thermometer. Let me turn left here, and then see if we can have it to kick down in a second. And I don't have a speedometer, but, you know, just felt pretty good. All right, we need to, that was a fan belt, okay. All right, I need to have a look at one of the fan belts, but that does pull well. So interesting to see how this thing is out on the highway, but so far, it doesn't seem doggish or slow. We didn't have any black smoke behind us, it looked like, when I brought the throttle about halfway down. But we'll pull up to the house here, leave it running, go walk around, see if there are any weird smells or anything, or any weird leaks. But if there are none, I'm going to call this a really successful test drive. All right, so sounding good here. No real misfire, but sounds a little bit like the plug, maybe a tiny bit fouled, but we've been doing a lot of idling, no real driving here. And it looks nice and dry down there at the power steering. Nothing else looks out of the ordinary. See a little bit of smoking over there. Let's see what that's all about. Yeah, okay, it's up here. I see something burning off up here. I have tried to clean up the manifolds and everything a little bit. It's probably just some chemical thing burning off a little bit, but no leaks. I checked that both chokes were turned off before I left. And, oh yeah, it's actually just from here. It's probably from the exhaust coming up here. Something I spilled over there with the power steering. But yeah. Things are progressing really nicely here. We got one side marker / blinker light out. All the other ones seem to be working. Almost in the rear as well. All the instrument lighting. So we're getting very close to be able to leave, which is good because we're leaving in a few days. All right, that's gonna be it for this video. I am changing the work clothes again. I've already started fixing more things. That was a successful test drive. I know we did a lot in this video, but it's always like that final dash when you have a way too short deadline like this. This whole thing was a little bit crazy. We're going to see if we could do it, get this car ready, and it's looking good. So I got the belts fixed here in the back, so they will lock and they will come out as well. So will the front ones. So all of that is working. I'm going to fix a couple things under the dash and check for there seem to be no leaks or anything like that. That's really good. I need to do the steering gaiter up front on one of the sides and light bulbs and things like that. List keeps going on. Anyways, next video on this car, we should be on our way to get inspected. Hopefully that goes well. Then we have some AC service to do, and just, yeah, list goes on. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with the Classic. I'll see you soon.